Hi, I'm Greg Wheeler, Mayor of Bremerton. I'd like to introduce my annual State of the City presentation with an update on 2020 and what's to come for 2021. The previous year was a challenging one. We were working on many community initiatives to help residents, neighborhoods, and quality of life in Bremerton when the pandemic hit. While we made some temporary changes to our operations, we remained focused on strengthening our city despite the impacts of COVID-19. I'm proud of the work we did to improve affordable housing, safety, parks, and streets, as well as to expand economic development. We also provided assistance to ensure our residents and businesses would receive support during these difficult times. We will keep up the momentum in 2021. Here are some of the highlights of 2020 and a look at what is coming this year. Right, this first slide is the City of Bremerton sales tax history. And I just felt it was important to give our citizens, give you, a snapshot of how we did in 2020. Everybody was concerned, not only for their household, their own personal households, but their neighborhoods. And of course, they were concerned, would our city keep running through this pandemic? Would we be able to provide those essential life safety services? And the answer is yes. You can see from there, we actually exceeded last year's total. So folks, there's a lot of reasons: a stable employer, a robust construction industry, the stable employer of course being the shipyard. Other factors came into play, but I'm pleased to at least share with you that we are able to keep providing you with these essential services to keep our city running and to keep you safe in your households. This is just another snapshot, a different way of presenting data. These are some year-over-year comparisons. If you look over the past 3 years, again, you can see that the numbers have actually gone up over our last 3 years of comparing 2019 to 2021. So again, I'm happy to share this with you so you know that things are doing well. We won't be doing really well until all of our citizens, though, are taken care of and all back to being gainfully employed and ensuring that their household budgets are solid. So the next couple slides are going to, I like to show these. They give you an indication of where Bremerton stacks up against other cities in the nation. And not many people know this. This is my opportunity to share with you that with this first one here, we were ranked the 39th most affordable beach town in the country. Those numbers speak for themselves, and you can see the data here. This is accessible for you at any time. It's just going to show that a lot of people are discovering what we already know. Bremerton's a desirable place to live, and a lot of it's because of our waterfront. Now this one was kind of interesting, to be ranked 50th in the nation. Of course we tied for our country's most fitness-friendly metros. And so there's a lot of reasons, a lot of things that go into consideration. Our main reason for ranking so high was we have so many people who walk to work in the shipyard. And so commuters who walk to work, that's one of the criteria. That's one of those that pushed us over the top. We have nice gridded sidewalks and streets, lots of opportunity for walking, and so this is, again, just kind of a fun fact for folks to know that we are ranked so high in the nation. So this last slide is just another ranking I think you'd find interesting. We ranked 9th for the most vibrant medium-sized communities in America on the Arts Vibrancy Index. Quincy Square, many of you have heard of Quincy Square. The Poet Laureate program I brought to the city, I'll talk about a little bit later. The Outdoor Art Gallery on Washington Avenue, and I'll speak a little bit about that later. These are just some examples of why we've ranked so high. It's another wonderful indicator of where our city's going, and it's definitely in a positive trend. Okay, so this first slide is housing and commercial development improvements. There's $143 million in total permit valuations in the pipeline. This is the total value of permits to date for this, and it's just 2021 is booming. Lots of new activity. Accessory dwelling units, as you probably have read, we're now up to 2 per lot. more coming, and it's just a sign of a growing city. So I want you to know that there's a lot of interest in our city. There's a lot of demand for housing. People find this place attractive as a destination. And I look at our efforts to meet this demand not only as being necessary for a growing and improving city, but also necessary to give our folks here options as their lives change. From that first high school student who leaves home for the first time, wants to work in our city, that college student, the senior who's looking for to stay in their city but needs to downsize. All of this is occurring under this incredible initiative here. And I wanted to share with you, there's so many good things about this type of demand that benefits our city. And again, we're an attractive place to come and live, work, invest, learn, and play. This is just another snapshot here, and you can look at some of the stats. These are what I share with our city council every week. 2021 January permit activity, and if you look at the prior years, those numbers speak for themselves. Again, there's tremendous demand, and so far we're meeting that demand here at the city. And permit activity so far in 2021, we were close to setting and exceeding the previous record of last year, all in the first 2 months. And that's an indicator of where we are. And of course, I have to work with City Council. We work with our development community. We learn the needs. And so I'll be going back to the City Council and discussing what it's going to take to continue to meet that demand. Again, we need to be turning around these permits as fast as possible so we can get these houses built. This slide is just a quick snapshot of the proactive code enforcement program. I think the pictures speak for themselves. These were all generated by our officials being out in the city, finding these type of situations, notifying the property owner, and helping them and assisting them in getting it cleaned up. This would not occur if we did not have a proactive program in place. So as you can see, we had 950 of these issues we corrected in 2020. I'm proud to move forward again in 2021. This is something that was important to me as your mayor, and something that the City Council has been very supportive of also. This has been a wonderful program here. It's affordable housing assistance. When I first came into the office, one of the things I had heard, which has not changed in my first 3 years in here and as mayor, is the need for assistance to help with rent. The need to somehow make it where folks could afford to stay in the city that they grew up in, they've learned to love. And so came in, worked with our partners, worked with my staff, and of course got the support of City Council. In 2020, as you can see, we assisted 77 residents with eviction prevention assistance. Essentially, we helped them with their rent, either on short-term, month-to-month, or one-time funding. Same scenario with the weatherization program, same conditions, brought it in, developed partnerships, valuable partnerships, worked with City Council. We're helping our city's housing stock with these programs. We kept people housed, not only before the pandemic, but especially during the pandemic. The weatherization program, that's an excellent program. We leverage each dollar that our city contributes on almost a one-for-one basis with outside funding, often most of it from Puget Sound Energy. It helps reduce heating costs, makes a healthier household. It employs local contractors, and so in return it also stabilizes rents. All of these things, great programs. The CARES funding that came in, most of you heard about that. We had the rental assistance program already set up, and while other folks around us, and I'm proud to say, while they were trying to figure out how to help their citizens, we had the program in place, and we funneled that money right into it, and we put it right out on the streets, saving people's households. And it's been a fabulous success. 2021, we will continue the program, and we are ready for more stimulus funds if they do come our way. Kitsap Lake Management Plan. I will share with you that this is another initiative, and like everything else, it requires partnerships and support. It's another initiative that I took on, and this was one of those that I thought I would get this started. It looked like a 10-year plan to me to actually clean up the lake. As we got into it, and as the plan started to evolve, we actually developed a pretty good strategy to have this cleaned up in the next 3 years. And it's been a pleasure to do this. This lake is too important to our region. It's too important to our environment. Not only do our citizens rely on this lake for good freshwater recreation, but also the region relies on this lake. And as far as its environmental benefit, to have that lake restored where wildlife can have a safe water feature around, where plant life can thrive again, where pets and our local, our own children and our pets don't have to worry about being sick. This is a huge improvement for our city. And so I look forward to the next steps in 2021, and we'll keep at this. So the first steps will be step by step to have this lake clean. The next part will be maintenance, a maintenance strategy for the long term. Park upgrades. Our long-term goal in the city is to have a park within 10 minutes walking distance of every area within our borders. And so what that requires is focus. Year after year, we have to continue looking for funding to improve the parks we have, and to just keep addressing these areas, other areas of the city that haven't seen the attention that they deserve and need. So Warren Avenue Playfield, you'll see, is coming. Most of you have seen that's actually been close to being completely redeveloped. Lulu Haddon Park's on our horizon. Kitsap Lake Park is in our plan for the work plan for the year, and it's just this is a wonderful thing. I don't know how many who are watching today have ever played on Warren Avenue Playfield. We've had a lot of Bremertonians who have. Some of them are elected, like Norm Dix, Frank Chop. Some of them went on to be great athletes. Tony Bodie was a professional athlete who came from West Bremerton. And yours truly played on the field. I wasn't of the athletic caliber of those before me, but I can say I was able to also play on the field as a North Perry Pee Wee. It's nice to be able to give back to our community and restore this wonderful inner city park. And Lulu Haddon's much deserved, much needed. That's coming soon. This was a kind of an interesting year we had in 2020. During the year we were faced with some difficult decisions because we were uncertain how the pandemic might impact our city. And so as far as the revenue that comes in, and when that happens, you start to look at, well, what's essential and what can be cut. And I made the determination that we needed the arts to continue. We needed it for our morale. We needed it to launch us into a prosperous future when we were free of this pandemic. And so rather than stop important vital programs like cleaning up Kitsap Lake when there was so much uncertainty, or investing in housing assistance and other programs, even though the budget wasn't fully certain due to the pandemic, I felt it important in this program, no less, to keep them going and to continue the outdoor art gallery on Washington Avenue and to get it prepped and painted and ready for art to be hung, to continue the Poet Laureate program, to continue moving forward with the Quincy Square project. I felt it was important. I think it is a part of our economic recovery. And so I'm proud to let you know that, as I showed you in the first slide, with one of the first slides with the budget, we made the right choice. Police support and crime reduction. And so we finally achieved a milestone that we hadn't seen since 2007, and it was we were finally fully staffed for the first time in many, many years. This was an issue, it was a chronic issue for us. I was well aware of it from my many years on the City Council. coming into mayor, I sat down with staff and we worked on, well, what's keeping us from being fully staffed? What's keeping us from having multiple candidates to interview so we could select only the best and the most qualified? And so some incentive programs were developed and we put them into place. And I'm proud to say that we had a full staffing levels for the first time, and that just translates into full presence out into all parts of our city. Throughout 2020 was interesting in many aspects. We had to change how we do our policing. One of the community policing strategies is to have a bicycle patrol. It's a direct enforcement team. And we had to curtail that to limit the amount of up-close personal interactions we have with our citizens. This was meant to protect our citizens from the pandemic virus, protect our own city officials from the pandemic and some of the harm of the virus. We instead covered large parts of the city, focusing on life safety issues. We had and prepared for 8 large demonstrations in our Bremerton area. I'm proud to report there was no violence, no property damage, and no injuries. And this is a big deal. And this is a credit to training in our police department. But it's also a credit to our community. It's a credit to the community organizers who helped organize the events. It's a credit to our citizens who participated, that we are all in this together to have this safe venue to ensure voices were heard. This was the key part, is to ensure voices were heard in a safe venue. And so in Bremerton and in Kitsap County, this occurred in 2020, and I'm proud of our community for pulling together during this very important time. And of course, we still are continuing our city's intelligence-led policing initiative. That's just utilizing technology to identify trends and hotspots so we can dedicate resources in the most efficient way possible. A couple of interesting and new initiatives I think you'll be interested in learning about. One was we now have a designated crisis responder contracted with the city. So that's a behavioral health specialist. Not all folks need typical law enforcement intervention if there's a crime. In some instances, the crime is being committed because somebody's going through a mental health crisis. So even though we have highly trained officers who are trained in de-escalation, there is an extra level that is required to help folks who are in a true emergency. And so this new program actually will help to address that. And instead of going to jail, which is the last place anybody wants to send, and especially myself and our police department want to send somebody if they're having a mental health crisis, instead of jail, there is the crisis triage center, which we can now offer. This behavioral health specialist has some authority to order some evaluation, and I look at it as a tremendous way to care for our most vulnerable population and to help folks get onto the path of potentially advocating for themselves and being productive again in our community. The body camera program is also being implemented this year in 2021. I was pleased to work with our police department and then our council, who supported it in the budget. And this body camera program, what's so important about this is it fits a need that we all want. Everybody wants transparency in government. Everybody wants accountability. And the body camera program supports that. Our officers want it, the public wants it. And so I'm pleased to be able to roll this out this year. There's a whole series of events that need to take place. You'll see this come out in the fall of 2021, and we look forward to working with our community as this program is implemented. The Safe Place program is another important initiative that we begin, and it provides that safe place, as it says in the name of the program, that safe place where folks who feel like they may be the victim or potential victim of a hate crime can go and seek almost refuge, where 911 can be called. A person can wait until an officer arrives, and they can do so in a safe environment, knowing that somebody has volunteered to do this. Again, it's just another step in caring for folks who are either are most vulnerable or in really vulnerable situations. Police support and crime reduction. This is just the last slide on the police department. Bike statistics are low. If you look at those numbers, all of those numbers were generated without a 911 call. That's the real power of direct enforcement tactics and direct enforcement team. And so they were low because I explained earlier we had to dedicate those officers somewhere else. ESCO and Loki, those are interesting. If you've ever watched, I can't give a comparison other than if you just watch a crime drama and watch how dangerous it appears to do a building search. These dogs do building searches. And so they help with the tracking and arrests of very dangerous individuals in very dangerous situations. That's just a little bit of Loki and ESCO statistics for 2020. Of course, as with all of these, we'll continue these programs in 2021. Fire reduction and public safety. This is very important, and there's a couple programs we brought in. I brought in the fire reduction and safety program, which is it's a safety inspection program working with our fire marshal and the fire department. These are things that they've wanted over the years, and what it does is it's part of this ongoing initiative to try to prevent fire hazards from occurring, and then if you eliminate those, then you start to reduce fires in general. And so it's a proactive measure to use to help our first responders and help our citizens. We've been very active in that. I'll share with you also the first full year of implementation of Marine 20. And when I first came into public office and then especially became mayor, I could never figure out why we, with all of our shoreline, we wouldn't have a rescue boat. And working together, and of course working with our staff in the city council, we now have one. And as you can see, we had 30 responses, 6 people rescued from the water. This also provides another valuable resource as far as, if you'll notice, we've had fires increase in the last 3 or 4 years. There's a lot of reasons behind it. Every state and every city in the country is suffering from the effects of climate change. It could be in snowstorm and ice storms in parts of the country that aren't used to them. It could be frequent and powerful tornadoes. It could be, in our case in Washington State, wildfires. And so what Marine 20 allows us to do is, in many of our heavily forested parts of our city, and we're lucky to have many of them, they're hard to reach by land. We can reach some of them by water. And so this provides another tool to get to fires in hard to reach places where we might have otherwise been in trouble. So I'm proud to share that with you. And so the quick one here, purchase a wildland fire engine and new paramedic unit. And there's some other training that's going in here. This is important. Let me get to the climate change really quickly. No matter how you feel about the science and how it's put together, the fact is we have increased risk every year, and we have increased wildfires every year in our state. Now, the city of Bremerton, over half of our city is actually forested, and it's mostly watershed, which is our drinking water supply. The forest around the actual source, Kitsap Dam, is necessary as the dam itself for providing legally providing safe drinking water. So without the watershed, we don't have a drinking source for 55% of our customers. That's where we get 55% of the drinking water in our community. Not only the city, but the outlying areas, including the Navy Yard, comes from the Kitsap Dam. Now the rest comes from groundwater. And so what the purchase of the wildland fire engine will do for us is it allows us to potentially be a first responder if something occurs out in our watershed, but it also allows us to assist, which we do every year now. We assist around the state, and we actually also assist up and down the West Coast. And we do that because we want assistance in return. We help each other in this way, and so when things become overwhelming for our resources, then we can go out and we can actually get more in. So far, we haven't had to call on people to come to Kitsap County, especially Bremerton. But we're not only prepared, but we've also established the relationships to do so. Nuisance abatement program. This is it's a kind of an arm of our code enforcement program. That property you see up on the screen is now was a chronic crime-ridden issue for our city. Neighbors didn't like it. The families that lived next door and our seniors and anybody who was investing in their property didn't like it. So it had been abandoned a long time. Working with our legal department, we established two new programs where we can actually clean up these long-term chronic problems. That particular picture there is actually, those houses are gone. They've been abated, demolished. There's actually two brand new structures in there now. So we have families living in two new houses where we had zero before. Families that are making a life in Bremerton, committed and contributing versus a nuisance property. So I'm proud to share that with you. We have 20 more of these in our queue for 2021. I'm proud to bring this program forward and proud to continue on with this program. Safe Streets and Sidewalks program. A whole bunch of statistics are in here. I mean, we're working with the Navy. We're working to do a commuter in a traffic study. We've got a 6th Street overlay project we've been working on. We've got thousands of feet of sidewalks, but mainly this is another program. When I first came in to office, and we all had this desire, the City Council, myself, my staff. It was a matter, though, of having the will to actually work to break down what we had in equipment, train personnel, and if we could create a budget that would balance equipment, personnel, trained personnel, and materials, what would it take, and could we actually implement a program? So it took us a year to figure it out. 2019, we got her started. We're now very good at it. We're limited by the resources we have, but there's little waste. We redo streets and sidewalks every year. And I'm just very pleased and proud. This is the city's first street and sidewalk program since 2007. I'm proud of our entire city for bringing this forward. I'm proud of our citizens for being so supportive of a very necessary project. I just want to highlight the tripping hazards. We've got a program where we can eliminate 900 tripping hazards. That's a big deal if you're a senior, or if you're pushing a stroller, or you have children with you and you're trying to walk to a park or neighborhood store. Some of these trip hazards they're a hazard, and so I'm very pleased that we've got this program going. We're making our city more livable with it. Second year, 2021, more of the same. We're going to do a city-wide wayfinding plan. We're going to continue with our partnership with the Navy. Lots of work. East 11th and Perry Avenue for those folks in Manette. That construction, or that design and construction, it will continue. Complete overlay of 6th Street. You can see this. I mean, it's a lot of information right here. The Naval Avenue is in the middle of a complete master plan and redesign from 15th Street all the way to the shipyard fence at the Naval Avenue gate. When we're done, that entire street will be safer for pedestrians, for school children, and for commuters. Nobody wants to be in a situation where they either hit somebody or are rear-ended because this is not conducive to pedestrians and cyclists and motorists. When we're done, it will be, and it'll be safer for all of us. So as you can see, a whole lot of work going on our Streets and Sidewalks program. We all need medical care. We want it in the city of Bremerton. I was proud to partner with CHI while we all still feel a sense of loss that a hospital that seemed to be dedicated solely to Bremerton, that a hospital leaving our city makes us feel. At the very same time, we do, and in a partnership with CHI Harrison in the city of Bremerton, we do have primary health care and a residency program facility on Kitsap Way. By this summer, we'll have urgent prompt care in place. So in 2021, my goal will be to ensure that that is a smooth and seamless transition for CHI, and then we'll work on the future of that whole entire neighborhood up there. A lot of discussions going on with the future of that building. As the plans firm up, I'll share more with you. That area is very important and into the future economic recovery of our city. It's a valuable piece of property, tremendous amount of potential. It has been rezoned. There's been planned action, environmental impact statements already occurred, so we've already had engineering studies done up front to help with the new development. There will be residential and commercial construction. It's not a matter of if, due to the location of this property and the location to beautiful parks, forested parks like Madrona Trails, beautiful parks like Lions Field, a walkway that connects the Manette Bridge to Lions Field. It won't be a matter of if, it's a matter of who are we going to want in there. So lots of optimism there, but again, medical care access, this will be seamless. Emergency room will not close fully until this is complete in 2021. Diversity. This was a big one, a big part of my initiatives coming into office. Our city did not have a workforce diversity plan. And a lot of folks would say, well, why do you need a diversity plan? And so, well, it's the right thing to do. And so that's always the easiest answer. But then you start to get down, why does a workforce like the city of Bremerton need a diversity plan? And it comes down to the same reason that any corporation or any organization who's trying to perform its mission, serve its citizens, serve its customers, needs one. In the current modern day that we live in, we have complex issues. And complex issues require perspectives to come to the table that are different from each other. We can't solve problems if everybody's looking at the problem through the same lens. We need diversity. We need people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different race, different identity, gender identity, age. We need all of those perspectives, because with complex problems, you do not have creative solutions without looking at it from multiple angles. Now, when I say complex problems, what it also means is complex opportunities. There's not one problem that we face in our city or in society that can't be resolved. And the issues are complex. But then there's opportunities also that require that same mindset, that same viewpoints that are so needed to get this done. When we come together at tables in the city, these ideas need to be presented from diverse perspectives in a safe environment. Everybody should feel safe with their background and where they're coming from. Everybody should feel respected. That's how the ideas come out onto the table, and that's how you consider things that you wouldn't consider yourself. The Workforce Diversity Program incorporates that. There's training, there's recruitment, there's retention, there's how we learn how we're different, we learn how we're similar. And a lot of people don't realize that everybody has bias. Even if it's implicit bias. It's bias from backgrounds that we're even unaware of. This begins to address that. One of my most important initiatives, it's a long game. It takes a while. It took me a while to get the budget at City Council. The City Council, of course, they supported me. Once we had the program outlined for them, we developed the program, hired people. We started implementation in 2020. The pandemic hit. We moved all of our resources to moving into a virtual climate. We're back to full, and we never stopped implementation, but we're back to a full court press of implementation. Proud to say this is moving forward, and of course this will go on. I've established it. It's now in cities, on the city books, and we'll keep going forward with this. Parking, long-term issues with our city. So there's multiple ways to look at parking. In the partnership we've developed, and this is it's a $750,000 study in partnership with the United States Navy. That's going to help a lot with some of the challenges that having a valuable, essential workforce right in your city, some of those challenges that brings. While we recognize all the good things, including a resilient, sustainable economy, we also recognize we have parking challenges. So, while we're moving through this program in this study, we have developed some new tools. Parking enforcement has been changed. We're now using technology. We can cover 10 times the ground we used to with minimal errors to zero chance for errors now with technology. This isn't meant as an enforcement tool, although it is parking enforcement. It's meant to help folks find the right parking spots for the situation and the reasons that they're visiting our city. It could be our own residents, it could be commuters, it could be customers for businesses, it could be visitors who are coming up to visit one of our neighborhoods. Every one of these situations has a place in a parking program. And so LPR, license plate reader technology, other technology we've developed with garage and parking locator apps, park and ride apps, so you can find where park and rides are located. You can pay for parking and locate it online before you even come into the city. Providing technology to help folks get into the right spot is a key to all of this. So it's just so everybody knows, this is a work in process. We are partnering with the Navy, but we're also partnering with many of our other businesses. Pleased to share, and more to come in 2021 and beyond. Yeah, interesting parking situation here. This looks a little bit more like some of the parking lots inside the Navy base where I used to work. We don't have many spots like this in the city, but we'll continue implementing new parking strategies in our city. Van pool programs, updating our residential parking permit program. We'll constantly be focusing on how can we make parking better for our residents. And my biggest focus, there's 3 points to this. It's customers that come into the city to work, customers who come in to shop, and our residents who live here. We need to improve the quality of their parking experience to keep moving forward. That's one of my goals in 2021. We'll continue and beyond. We'll keep moving forward with that. Well, transportation, as you can see, that's a picture of the Rich Passage 1. We'll keep moving forward, making sure Bremerton's needs are met. Being part of a large transit board, it's important for us to each support each other. Port Orchard's going to be next with their fast ferry service. If we support each other, that distributes the transportation impacts around the region and around our peninsula. And so then what that ends up doing is folks tend to stay in their areas a little bit more. Not that commuters won't come in, and we welcome that. But for convenience, the more areas we have in our community, the better. So folks can pick the most convenient option for themselves. So this slide's about mental health. Very important aspect. In fact, I could say that mental health and how we deal with it and what's not being done is probably has the most important and largest impacts on our community. We've seen in our cities across the country what the lack of mental health care or the lack of opioid addiction treatments are doing. It does to our homeless, exacerbate the problem of homelessness, petty crimes, nuisance crime, property crimes, the misery that it causes individuals who are untreated and unable to care for themselves. And it's just, I think we all see it. We feel impacted by it. We want to do more. And so I just want to share with you, at the city level, there's no one single thing we can do to fix this. All we can do is be relentless every year with creating programs to try to help where we can. These are big issues that will require federal and state intervention. At our level, we do the best we can to provide a humane and safe environment where all of our citizens can be healthy and grow. The Pendleton Place is a permanent supportive housing project. It's a place where folks are able to get into the treatment programs that I'll talk about in a couple bullets. It's a place where those folks who are willing to commit to the treatment programs, willing to commit to meeting with caseworkers, this is that place where they no longer have to worry about shelter. And so that is a big one. That's a big one for stabilization for the most vulnerable in our society. So from there, those who have the ability and with case management are able to move on. Those who don't have a place, they don't have to worry about that anymore. So I was proud for the city to partner in this. I was able to identify the location through contacts with investors reaching out to me, property owners, ready to sell. Identifying the area, identifying how new zoning might fit, guiding folks to the process, introducing the investors. Birmingham Housing Authority and Kitsap Mental Health they are the drivers of this. Our role is small in comparison, but I felt it was vital to do what we did in the city to have this project going. It'll be completed in the near future. We just broke ground here recently. You can see the construction going. It's a valuable service. Bremerton Fire Department, for all of the good that they do as far as first responders. And it's very visible work that you see. A lot of it's in the news. This is a quiet one. Working with the Bremerton Fire Department, we were able to hire a medical officer, or actually create a full-time medical officer position from a previous part-time one. It required full-time medical officer position to actually implement this program and others, but this one here is groundbreaking for our community. It's a partnership with Peninsula Community Health Services to provide treatment, and it's a mobile health care clinic to provide opioid and mental and substance abuse treatment and mental health counseling. It's also basic primary health care. This meets people where they live. If somebody's homeless, we can be at the shelter to meet them for follow-up. We identify folks who might respond because they're the ones that we see the most often. They're the ones our police and fire both see the most often. It's either the person who's getting a trip to the emergency room for some reason, mainly due to their health just being unsheltered, not being able to care for themselves, or unfortunately to jail if it's somebody who's feeding an addiction with crime. So this type of program actually helps break that cycle. We actually, not only is it a humane thing to do, we see that as a cost benefit to help folks who are chronically in the system, into the court system, the jail system, court system, law enforcement, public safety, hospital emergency room, helping them to out of this cycle. And so that's where it's important. Proud this partnership was going. Bremerton Fire was able to kick it off. Peninsula, again, they've been a wonderful partner. I can't say enough how proud I am of the partnerships, at least in my term, in my time, been able to establish, and especially during the pandemic with Bremerton Housing Authority, Peninsula Community Health Services, Kitsap Mental Health Services, Kitsap Community Resources, all great partners. 2021 will support Pendleton Place. Next year we'll complete the first full year of the mobile health care unit. We'll provide opioid and mental health treatment. And of course a Navigator program and the behavioral health program, the new behavioral health program, will both are part of this safety net that help people out of this cycle, as I just explained, this endless cycle, and into being a chance to be more self-sufficient. We have tremendous opportunity in our city. I think our economies are pivoting drastically. We are now in a day, in an environment where you don't have to live next to your employer. That is a game changer. So all of a sudden now in the city of Bremerton, what you have is several workers who have the option to be able to telecommute. And since we are in such close proximity to larger cities like Tacoma and Seattle, or even across the water into the Snohomish County and others areas in Pierce County, we can now provide an environment where telecommuting can thrive here. So that's a game changer. So all of a sudden now, instead of you have folks who are looking to move to Bremerton for the park system, for access to health care, for affordability, which is a big one, for affordable housing compared to these larger jurisdictions. So our goals and the way we can promote economic growth is ensure our communities are strong. The basics that a city government provides: strong park system, safe, well-lit sidewalks, a robust fire safety and paramedic services and fire services, a good community policing. All of these things now create the neighborhoods and the households that will support a telecommuter. And so we will have, and now that I felt it was important to say that, we do want to be that destination for those companies and businesses that do want to locate here. So please know that is a top priority. When I first got into office, I went down to Olympia for funding to plan for the revitalization of the Wheaton Way SR 303 corridor. We just completed that final report this year, and with that in conjunction with the Harrison Hospital, we call it the East Side Village area now. Those two are a large portion of East Bremerton. That is designed to not only provide a residential housing, but it's designed for commercial development and to bring business here, to provide either business opportunity and entrepreneurship from our own talent that's already living here and our own folks who are motivated, but to attract that next employer. As you know, there is no company that's off limits for us. It can be Amazon, Microsoft. We are an attractive place. We're an attractive place for workers. And so we will be open to continuing that effort to make ourselves ready. You'll see the last bullet there, expand broadband access. I'm in partnership and working with Kitsap Public Utility District. We have to be thinking about high-speed internet every step of the way from here on out. This is our future. It's our future for healthcare, for education, and employment. Many of you know already I've been a strong advocate for the Bremerton Airport expansion. And I want folks to know, and please keep an open mind, expansion does not mean SeaTac. Expansion can just mean more activity than we have. More activity that actually helps us with access to other employment opportunities. It helps us with healthcare. It helps us with education opportunities. I mentioned how telecommuting is a game changer and how the virtual environment is going to be a game changer. At the very same time, there's going to have to be a place where corporations and businesses are established. We need that here. And so whether we have workers telecommuting from here who are going to be needing to travel to different destinations, or we have the employment here and workers coming in once in a while, because with telecommuting you have to have a ratio of in-person to online. Then this airport, this is a huge one. And this is one I'll stay on, and I'll partner with the port all the way through. So the one other major economic growth program and project I'm working on is the Gorst Corridor. We have a coalition established. You haven't even seen it yet. It will probably be in the Kitsap sun soon. But we have the strongest opportunity that we've had in generations to finally fix that congestion. There's a number of factors at play all at the same time. There's the administration, the White House administration focused on infrastructure and stimulus funds to help folks who are ready to receive those funds to correct major deficiencies. With us in infrastructure, the two areas that we need the most are support with broadband, and we need support with the Gorse Corridor. We have formed a coalition to be ready, to be in line, to make sure our legislators, our federal and our state legislators, because Olympia is going to have to help, to be in line so when the funds are available, we have the shovel-ready project to fix these challenges. So, and I mentioned broadband, that will always and should always be and will continue to be at the top of our list for infrastructure support. So finance, we transitioned into a monthly water, sewer, and stormwater billing. We developed the technology to do this, and we felt it was important for two reasons. One, so we could work with our property owners if a leak had been detected or if there appeared to be some usage that might threaten their own budgets. Doing it bi-monthly kept us out of the loop, kept us as being a partner for too long. Going into the monthly billing is more consistent with how other utilities bill and how other could be internet, electrical, obviously Comcast, I'm just naming a company here, but some of the other utilities, natural gas, the other franchises that operate in our city. And so it's consistent. It allows us to partner a little bit better if there's budget challenges. Going 2 months oftentimes leads to a bigger hole for folks to dig out of. With our technology, we can also discover leaks. And so with a lot of our households, if you're away on travel, if you're a landlord or tenant, or if you're just for some reason you have a slow leak and you don't know about it, we can help with that. And so that's one of the reasons, and obviously to help people smooth out their budgets. When the pandemic hit and the state and the city, nation, state, and city shut down, we had to start analyzing our budget every day. We had to start considering everything we had going for us. Our construction, we were gauging permits activity every day, gauging the shipyard's employment practices every day. Employment practices equal car sales, they equal online purchases, understanding our workforce, construction industry, and able to gauge that, the demand there. We were able to, while some jurisdictions, in fact most or many or most, were cutting services and even beginning to lay off, we kept up with full service to our public and our citizens. Most of this very valuable to our citizens' quality of life. This still comes to interactions every day with Finance Department. The CARES funding, I'll share with you that myself and the Finance Director, we developed the programs to help our local school districts move into a virtual world. There was a lot of investment there to help our small businesses, to create a program to provide assistance for our small businesses. We did this on the weekends. We did it at night. We didn't factor in pandemic and stimulus money into our work plans, so we did it when we could. One thing I'll share, and even though I'm talking about finance, I want to share with you that the same can be said for every single department. I said this about the fire and police. The parks, the same thing. Our street department, continuing to move our city forward. Public Works Department and engineering, actually creating, in one weekend, creating a right-of-way ordinance where restaurants could move out into the street and establish operations, where restaurants could move out into parking lots and privately owned parking lots in places like Sheridan Village. Those were all done over a weekend under emergency conditions. And so, again, these were just dedicated employees who did all of this on your behalf throughout the pandemic, and we will continue to do so. And I've shared with you the commuter and transportation study in cooperation with the U.S. Navy. Many folks are just now learning that when I came into office, I did hire somebody to represent the city back in Washington, D.C. That individual helped with making the connections that we had never knew existed that could help us. Office of Economic Adjustment ultimately approved this funding. Office of Economic Adjustment doesn't approve funding unless the Secretary of the Navy or one of the Assistant Secretaries of the Navy, the one in charge of infrastructure and shipyard support, recommends it. And then, of course, local Navy personnel leadership have to support it. We learned all of that. This is the beginning, and we'll continue on with this partnership. 2021 will be continue the rollout of the commuter and transportation study, and just continue gathering public input. Well, the title says it all: youth academic and civic engagement. The mayor's program is something that the Association of Washington Cities does on a larger scale. But what I wanted to do is actually get our youth started thinking about their leadership in our community. What are they doing to support initiatives that might help our citizens? And so I came up with the program. I've had some really dedicated support from the Bremerton School District, School Board, and bringing this forward. And we've got it up and running. You can see students took on Kitsap Lake. It was kind of neat. That one was, that was a Mayor's Youth Leadership Program there. That was the Mayor's Challenge, which is a Washington State Science and Engineering Fair. That one I opened up to the entire peninsula, but I wanted folks to focus on city issues, so they took on Kitsap Lake. The Mayor's Youth Leadership Program was specifically targeted towards our Bremerton youth, and so lots of interest. I'm happy to help them along. It takes a lot of work to earn these scholarships, get them thinking in a different way. How are they helping their community? And so just proud to share that with you. 2021, we'll continue to do the same thing. I talked a little bit about COVID-19 assistance. Lots of money came into the city. We distributed quite a bit of it, and I explained a few of the areas that we did. We monitored, we worked with citizens with their water and sewer services. We made nobody's going to get shut off, and nobody will today. And until we're out of this pandemic, nobody will have to worry about that. We'll work with them on their bill paying. If there's late payment fees or interest or anything like that, if they accrued it in the early months, they don't have to worry about it. We'll help them. Worked with Birmingham Farmers Market, so we tried a couple different areas. The first area we considered was Evergreen, which was off. We couldn't do it. Moved to Pendergast, too far out of the way. We brought them down to Quincy Square. I think we've got a good place for them. I'm excited for the market to open again. We're still working with them. Huge investment. I can't tell you how much time it took for us to shift into a virtual climate in a pandemic. But we did it in a week. And then it was ongoing after that, developing new programs and policies. This is something none of us could ever imagine we'd ever run into, obviously. And we developed technology at a speed that we never imagined we could. We became proficient faster than we ever imagined. We innovative and implemented new ways of sharing files in a virtual world. It's just an amazing effort. Again, I'm proud of our staff for pulling together the way they did. I talked about creating an emergency ordinance to allow businesses to move outdoors. We're working on some other issues now with temporary expansions in different ways out into the right-of-ways. I opened up parking downtown. When our businesses closed, it was tragic for our small businesses. I'm looking for ways to continue supporting them. But at that time, we had all the essential workers that were still mandated to continue working. all the way from a Navy Yard worker to a grocery clerk. And so I felt that by lifting our parking enforcement, we allow the citizens to stay out of the buses, where at the time, there's still a risk, but at the time there were tremendous risks for people traveling together, to allow them to stay separate and park downtown. I worked with the Salvation Army way before the actual shutdown occurred. In my role as a public health district, Kitsap Public Health District Director, we could foresee some things coming, and the worst thing I could imagine was folks without shelter in a pandemic. Salvation Army is heroic. They do this on a lot of volunteers and very few staff. I met with them and board members and ensured that could they do this, would they do this if offered the opportunity? Did they have the will to carry this on? We're going on 16 months now. They went straight from a winter shelter straight into a pandemic. They've kept it up. They're tired, but they're still going strong. And I was proud to just work with them to get them going, and I'm proud of their work that they've done. The city was the first one to step up and provide testing for our community. We had testing in different locations in the city. Now we have vaccination sites that we've established in the city. This required our staff support. None of this happens without staff support to ensure we have safe traffic flow, to ensure we're in an area where we can ensure the safety of folks who are stopping to get their shots. It has to be done correctly and fit into the day-to-day operations of a city life. So in 2021, we're ready. We'll be ready to secure with the funding if it comes in. We've established the programs. We know how to do this. Folks should know and be ready to monitor our websites, monitor City of Bremerton Facebook, look at your constant contact emails. As soon as that money comes in, I'll be notifying you. We've got the programs in place. We'll continue working remotely. We'll continue. We've made significant investments when we do open up, and that day will come. There'll be a reopening of some sorts. It probably won't look the same, but when we do, there'll be lots of safety precautions in place. Partnering with Peninsula Community Health Services and St. Michael, will continue with that. We can move on a dime. If we get vaccinations that come in, if we had 30,000 vaccinations come in tonight, I would be on the phone with my staff tonight, ensuring that there was a lane to enter into the vaccination site and a lane to exit the vaccination site. We would work on off-street parking. We would make this happen. That's how this is a high priority. We're treating this with urgency, and so we'll continue those efforts. So during this time, we remain focused on managing the city's budget responsibly, and we will continue to work hard on the city's initiatives for 2021. Thank you for the opportunity to present the State of the City update. It's an honor to be serving as mayor for the citizens of Bremerton.